We are now days out from another undisputed heavyweight champion of the world at Wembley Stadium in London on Saturday. Oleksandr Usyk, the most recent undisputed heavyweight champion we have had, who has now entered himself into the GOAT conversation up at heavyweight, will take on IBF champion Daniel Dubois for the undisputed crown of boxing. There is no question Oleksandr Usyk on his day has the beating of almost anyone. But Father Time is undefeated in boxing, and Oleksandr Usyk is 38 years old. Daniel Dubois at 27 has youth, has energy, has excitement, and has power all on his side. We know what happened the first time. We know how that story went. But can Dubois go back and rewrite history and fix the wrong that he made in that fight, in this fight, and take on Oleksandr Usyk, relinquish him of all his belts, and take them back home with him? We will see this Saturday, July 19th, when Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois face off against each other in Wembley. So rumour has it they're going to sell out. They've sold upward of 90,000 tickets. Look, I'm not so sure on that. You can go and take a look on the Ticketmaster website if you like, and there's still a few tickets there, but there's no denying it's going to be certainly very close to sold out. So that tells us a few things. One, Daniel Dubois is now a name. That doesn't really surprise me. After his last performance over in Wembley, he was always going to be a name over in England, capturing all those AJ fans. And he's also, and I've always said this, the best promoted fighter of modern day for a number of reasons. But what that means, and I'm sure we'll get onto that, but what that means is that he has a lot of fans. His fights are pushed the right way. Now, looking at this fight specifically, I'm not sure if Dubois is being overrated or if Usyk is somehow still being underrated. Look, as I've said, Usyk is 38 years old. I know that. I know he's old. But Dubois, he was so far away from Usyk in that first fight. He was a million miles away. Now, I know things have changed. I know Usyk, look, he's older, but Dubois is also probably entering his peak. Dubois is the best he's ever been. He's powerful, but he was so far away from Usyk in that first fight. I just wonder, can he really close that much of a gap? And what have we seen to make us believe that he has closed that much of a gap? I've not seen enough to make me think that this is as 50-50 as the promoters would have you believe. And I don't not rate Dubois. This isn't that. This isn't me trying to shit on Dubois at all. I just really rate Usyk. We are going to see the best Dubois, confidence sky high, power through the roof, ability there, taking on an aging, a slipping Oleksandr Usyk, and there's no denying that. But what I think we need to mention here, Usyk has adapted his style relative to him sliding. If we look at the Usyk that first came up to heavyweight, or even the one that fought Bellew, and then we look at the Usyk that last fought Fury, they're different fighters. They aren't the same. Now, which one's better? Yeah, look, Usyk in his prime would probably beat Usyk now. But what I mean is Usyk now a heavyweight? You know, when Usyk first stepped up, he was getting used to fighting these bigger guys. He was getting used to fighting these heavier weight classes, to carrying that extra weight. Now he's a fully fledged heavyweight. He's a fully fledged heavyweight. There's no doubt about that. And he's used to fighting these big. He's just fought Fury twice. They don't get much bigger than that. Like, he's so used to it and accustomed to it now. And I'm not saying he wasn't the first time they fought, but he certainly wasn't as experienced up at heavyweight then as he is now. You know, he'd fought AJ twice, he'd fought Chisora, but what he hadn't done is got in there with Fury twice, had 2 more training camps at that weight, had years more at that weight. He's so much more established as a heavyweight with his weight, his ability and his style. I don't think we're actually going to see this. Usyk's game plan for the first fight, I think, will no doubt be very different in this fight. Look, he's older. And that might have forced his hand to change the style a little bit. But the fact of the matter is he has changed his style. He now doesn't box like he did when he was younger. He boxes unbelievably well, and his style is so adapted for his age but also his weight that I don't think, and I'll come back onto this, but the game plan people are telling Dubois to have, I don't think will work, because Usyk's style is fundamentally different to what it was. He now boxes like a heavyweight because he's the best. He's 225 pounds. My big thing as well about this is we only saw it go 9 rounds last time, and look, it might only go 3 this time because Dubois might get him out of there very quickly. But we know when Usyk figures you out, once he solves that puzzle, there's no muddling it up again. You know, we've seen AJ try it, we've seen Fury try it. Once he knows you and he's figured that out and he's mastered the puzzle, you can do what you want, but he's got that then. He knows the formula. He does so well in rematches. And look, I personally think AJ did better in the rematch against Usyk than he did in the first fight. But that isn't because Usyk was worse, it's just because AJ was a lot better. And Usyk, when he figures that puzzle, the enigma, like he did against Fury, and I just think we're going to see more of that. He's got Daniel's number now. And this isn't any disrespect, but he knows the formula to beat Dubois. He knows what he's got to do. And now he knows he's going to put that on from round 1 this time. There's no figuring out. Usyk spends the first couple of rounds just figuring it out, seeing how you move. He knows that now. And that's, I think, is really important. Whilst Dubois has confidence through the roof, as he should, look, Usyk knows what he does from start to finish now. And he'll have been watching the Hrgovic fight, the Miller fight, the AJ fight, and he'll know, okay, I know what I need to how to beat that and what to look out for. Let's talk about those fights though. Dubois beat Miller. Dubois beat Hrgovic and Dubois beat AJ. Now he was not the favourite. You could argue he wasn't the favourite in all 3 of those fights, but certainly against AJ, he wasn't the favourite. And that is the fight mostly that now gets talked about. And rightly so, because it is the most recent one, and what a performance it was. But let's go through them. The Miller fight, look, what he showed there was grit, was heart, was determination, was the listening. His dad came up and Don Shaw, and he listened to them. And he got the stoppage there. It was the wrong game plan. It was the wrong, perhaps, style to fight that fight with, but he got the job done. Hrgovic, swallowing right hands, left and right, but he got the cut in there, and which I think crazy how dirty he fights in the headbutts. But again, cut happened, he got the win, got the stoppage victory, and he was swallowing right hands, and Hrgovic couldn't make him pay. If AJ can have the right hands on you that Hrgovic was, it's good night. But he couldn't, right? He couldn't. Now, is that being romanticised a bit? Is his performance against AJ being romanticised a bit? I think yes, but I do think rightly so. We've never, ever seen anybody go through AJ like he did. Look, there was the Ruiz fight, but that wasn't quite how Dubois did. And that's probably the closest you've got is the Ruiz fight. Dubois went through, as Chisora would say, went through AJ like a laxative. He went straight through him, and that was phenomenal. But he had the unquestionably worst version of AJ that you can possibly have. That was AJ so bad. That was on his absolute worst day. And I think it's being slightly romanticised because AJ had good pockets in there, but Dubois, you know, yes, put the pressure on him and didn't let him have much success, but Dubois didn't have kind of anything coming against him. And when he did, AJ actually wobbled Dubois. And if you look at the success that Dubois had, he simply isn't going to have that success against Usyk. He simply just is not going to have that success. So I think it is being romanticised slightly. And I'm not trying to downplay it. Look, what he did was fantastic. But is it relevant to Usyk? I don't think so, because it was a very poor AJ, and it's doing stuff he won't be able to do against Usyk. Let's touch on this. Everyone says that the way to beat Usyk, Chisora showed the blueprint. And I kind of referred to this already, but Chisora showed the blueprint. You've got to walk him down and go through him. 2 issues with that. Number 1, as I've said, Usyk's a southpaw. Dubois will struggle to land that right hand. He will. Now, can he catch Usyk? Of course he can. And what happens when he catches Usyk? I don't know, but I don't really think much, because I've seen AJ catch him, Fury catch him, and Dubois had the first chance. I've got no reason to believe that Usyk's going to go down. But whatever. He's going to struggle to because of the southpaw stance. But also, that blueprint everyone refers to when he fought Chisora, that was so long ago. That was so many fight camps ago, so many fights ago. That simply won't work anymore. As I said, Usyk then was not a fully fledged heavyweight. He was new to the weight, new to the like sparring, well, new to fighting guys that are that sort of size, new to fighting guys at that weight with that style. He was very new to that. And I think that's why he chose Chisora, because he wanted somebody that would like just throw in at the deep end, that's going to bring this style so Usyk can learn how to deal with it. I think that's why Usyk chose Chisora. And that was years ago. He chose Chisora, learned from it, worked it out, and that was years ago, and no one's been able to do it since. You don't think AJ tried? You don't think Fury tried? Of course they did. You don't think Dubois tried the first time? Of course they did. The fact of the matter is, one, Usyk's figured that game plan out. That's why he chose Chisora in the first place, was to figure that game plan out. And now that he has, he's a fully fledged heavyweight. He's a 6'3", 220, 225 pound heavyweight who's now fundamentally embedded at that weight. That's the truth of the matter. You know, this isn't his second or third fight up there where you can rough him up. His style is now built for that. We saw it against Dubois, against Fury both times. That's how he does. That's his style is adapted for that now. It just will not work. That blueprint we saw may have worked straight after he fought Chisora, but now it's been too long. You missed your chance. That blueprint's gone. So let's talk about how Dubois can get this job done. Dubois, let's look at it. He's a better boxer, but not by much. I don't think he is. Look, Dubois is the best promoted fighter on planet Earth. The fact he got that first title shot against Usyk, I think is crazy. The fact he's getting another one after that Miller performance and that Hrgovic performance, and then fighting AJ for the title, I think is crazy. How did Daniel Dubois, after losing to Usyk and then beating Miller and Hrgovic the ways that he did, won it with the title? Look, I know it's all politics. Hrgovic was a mandatory. He beat Hrgovic. I even think that was dirty with the headbutts. Whatever, doesn't matter. He's a better boxer, but I don't think it's actually that much better. I think he's a very similar fighter to how he was when he fought Usyk the first time. The difference being, where he's most improved, is his confidence. Mentally, that confidence is sky high right now, as it should be after that demolition job against AJ. Super sky high performance and confidence, you know, because of that. He needs to use that, go in at 100 miles per hour and fight how he knows how to, which is rough, dirty, headbutts and low blows, and just see what you can get away with. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear that, but that's the fact of the matter is. Whether you think the actual low blow that everyone talks about, which I've covered before, it was low, but even if you think that wasn't low, look at that fight. There were so many low blows. Look at the Hrgovic fight. There were so many headbutts. He gets away with it so much. And no one talks about it because he's just so well promoted. That's what he needs to do. Just go in there, rough it up, headbutts, low blows, see what he can get away with, 100 miles an hour, and try and get him out of there. After 3 rounds, for me, his percentage goes from maybe 30 right the way down to 5. For me, I give him a 30% chance for the first 3 rounds. After that, I give him a 5% chance. Because after that, I think he's going to realise, oh, fuck, I know why I quit the first time. He'll realise who he's in there with, how that person fights, how good that person is, and think, yeah, I'm at my depth here. And then it's just a puncher's chance at 5%, in my opinion. And I just think, as a boxer, he's not that much better. So he just needs to use that. He is a bit, but not that much. Not enough to where Usyk slipped enough and he's caught up with him. So he used his size, his confidence and his speed to just go in that 100 miles an hour, a couple of headbutts, a couple of low blows, and work that body and just try and get him out of there in 3 rounds. After that, I give him 5% chance, because I think after that, Usyk stops him. I think for me, I don't see too much different from the first fight, other than a bit of slippage from Usyk, but a changed style, and a small bit of improvement from Dubois. So my prediction, people, is Oleksandr Usyk to stop Daniel Dubois in rounds 10 or 11. That's my prediction. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the comment, subscribe, you know how stuff works, people. Peace.